Hello everybody, welcome back to the video, and today I am reviewing The Thing by John Carpenter. I've only watched one other John Carpenter movie, which was the first Halloween, and let me just say this movie was significantly better. I wasn't a big fan of Halloween, I will be honest, but The Thing, this movie was awesome. So, I'm just going to go ahead and get this out of the way, because I have actually watched a couple of reaction videos to this movie. I knew immediately that dog was evil, right? I had a feeling that something was going on with that dog immediately. um, so before I talk about characters or anything, I just want to say the effects for this are incredible. The Thing itself in each iteration, because it never looks the same, it's always different, looks creepy. Also, I like how a good chunk of the score for this movie is it sounds like a heartbeat. Thump thump, thump thump, thump thump. Not exactly like that, but kind of similar. Which to me, I really liked that. That was a really cool touch on the score. But let's talk about the acting and the characters. So, obviously, Kurt Russell is the main character in this movie, and he's really good in this movie. The entire cast is incredible. And all of them kill it in this movie. This movie, for the first 40 minutes, is kind of for the first 40 to 50 minutes, I think, feels like a slower burn, and then it starts ramping up a little bit, and that's when it gets real interesting. The whole movie is interesting, don't get me wrong. This is definitely a movie about paranoia, and it definitely shows. But Kurt Russell, obviously, he's the main guy. I think it was just Kurt Russell and Keith David I've seen before. I don't think I've seen any of these other people in anything else, which was really cool. Because Kurt Russell I've seen in, just to name a couple things off the top of my head, he was in Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2. He was in Tombstone. I was thinking, what was something else? Big Trouble in Little China. Those are a couple of things I've seen him in. He was really good in this movie. This is probably my favorite performance of his that I've seen, but I haven't seen that many of them. And Keith David, if I remember correctly, it's been a while. I believe he was on Community during that last season. I could be mistaken, but I think that's him. But everyone's really good. Obviously, you could say the two main people in this movie are McCree and Childs, right? They're the last two in the movie, very end. By the way, I like the fact that it's sort of a slower burn until you get to that ending, right? It starts ramping up with the blood test, which was a great sequence in my opinion. But that ending is incredible, particularly when, when they realize that they're all going to have to blow up the base, which means none of them will get out alive. That was some great acting, particularly on the part of Kurt Russell. Like I said, the entire cast is great, but Kurt Russell is the highlight role of the movie. He is the main character. And then it's nonstop from there. They're blowing up the base, and then the Blair thing. Blair was a scientist from earlier in the movie who realized what was going on. He tried to stop it, but he couldn't. He got infected. Something I didn't realize on my first viewing, I didn't notice it because I was so interested in this movie and its story. There is a noose in one scene. Well, there is a noose hanging up. I didn't notice that until I watched some reactions. I was like, oh shoot, I didn't even notice that there was a noose. But he's a very interesting character. Who knows when he was taken over? There's a bunch of videos. I'm not going to make this a video on when everyone got infected. There's a bunch of great videos on this particular subject. And honestly, I think that it actually helps with the paranoia aspect of the movie if you don't know when everyone's been infected. Right? There's definitely aspects you can figure out. But ultimately, I mean, who's to say that some of these people didn't get infected in that 2-day time jump? Well, you know, there was one. Also, I'm going to say this. I know that there's that one scene in which Childs tells MacReady, so you're a murderer. That, to me, when I was watching the movie, that seemed like self-defense to me. That's all I'm going to say. If you disagree with that point, leave it in the comments. But to me, that came off as self-defense. So, but anyway, we're going to get to the very ending in a little bit. So ultimately, you've got the main guys. They leave Childs behind in the base to guard it and say, if Blair gets here, burn him. And then everyone else goes to do the test. He's gone. That's when they start blowing up stuff and find a spaceship. I'll be honest. Where was he planning on flying that spaceship? Was he just trying to get out of there? Or was he trying to go back into space? Maybe I missed it because I was just thinking, man, that's impressive. He started building this thing this fast. But seriously, that's like the only sort of confusing thing about this movie to me, is because I get the logic of the thing, right? It's a bacteria. If even a single cell of it gets onto someone, then that person transforms into a thing, so on, so on, so on. You know, by the way, I just want to say this. That one scene with the doctor, he's doing the defibrillating on Norris, was the most surprising part of the movie because of the way it's filmed and everything, right? It makes it seem like all the action's going to happen with MacReady, and no. Okay, sorry if that was a little cringy there, but you know, goes down, and that might be the most shocking moment of the entire movie right there. But, right, I know this is kind of all over the place, right? But that final shot, the final version of the thing you see in this movie, is the creepiest design for any of the different iterations that you see throughout this movie. That is a shocking design right there. Right, gets blown up pretty quickly. And then let's talk about the ending. So obviously, if you've seen this movie, you're probably wondering, do I think that Childs is a thing at the end of this movie? Yes. I mean, look, I know there's some people that have the interpretation that they're both humans, right? That is something I have seen going around. I believe John Carpenter himself had said that only that one of them was actually a thing. But my opinion, Childs is a thing, right? You could say any piece of logic, he's not. Right, his breath, there's a couple of shots where it's visible, but it's not as visible as MacReady's. You know, it looks like he's wearing a different coat. The shots of the coats look different. You know, did he drink gasoline from that alcohol? Or was it him accepting the drink itself proof that he is a thing, right? I think that it's more of a question of how do you prove he's a thing than if he is. Because you could make the case that Kurt Russell is a thing, but he is the protagonist. He is the character that the audience sees the most of. He is the audience surrogate, for lack of a better term. Are you really going to have him turn into the monster itself at the end? But I think that definitely the ending, once Childs drinks, the music kicks in, combine that with Kurt Russell's laugh, it essentially confirms that Childs, in my opinion, is a thing. This is a great movie, in my opinion. This might be the best non-Scream horror movie I've seen. It's either this or one of the Final Destinations, but this is very good and significantly better than Halloween. I know that's a hot take. I saw the first Halloween, didn't really care for it. This movie was awesome. So I'm gonna give this movie. Oh man, I kind of want to give it a 10 out of 10. It's like a 9.5 or a 10 out of 10. It's got great paranoia, and then you got these great spikes of action, and then it gets back into paranoia, spikes of action. Right. Lots of slow burn, and then you get the first spike. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to give this movie a 10 out of 10. I would highly recommend watching The Thing. By the way, I'm referring to the one from 1982, not the 2011 prequel. I know, in case you skipped to the end of the video. Or The Thing from Another World, which is a version of this movie from the 1950s. But either way, that's it for this video. Like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.